All right, in this particular lab, we're going to, again, utilize a opening of a file, but this time the syntax is going to be slightly different with utilizing a with command. Now, the way it's going to work is something along these lines. So let me take a quick little explainer of the syntax. So there's yet another way to open up a file, and this time the syntax is going to be different with a with statement. So we start out with another keyword open. We're going to utilize a file name that we select as a file variable. You notice that this is ending at a colon, so that means there's going to be blocks of code thereafter. Same thing as the other method of opening. So we have with open, file name, and then we have our different modes. So we could also specify the different mode types. And here is an example. So we have with open dogs.txt as breeds. So this entire component here, we're opening it up and assigning it to a value called breeds, and then we're going to execute whatever our block of code. And now let's go back to our code and actually go through the syntax and see how it's going to look with our configurations. So we have just one part here. We're going to create a variable. We're going to create a function to pass a variable. We're going to open up the file, print the file contents, close it. We're going to update the function and do it twice for variable 1s and 2. So we have F1, which is assigned to dogs, and F2, which is assigned to resume. And here is basically how our syntax is going to look for this. We're going to start out with our definition. So we're going to open up a file and utilize this particular syntax. Next line is the important line that we have, where we're going to be opening up the file with the parameter that's being passed in here, because again, this keyword file name is a local variable to this particular function, and we're going to open it up as file 1. Now what we're going to do then is print the contents of the file, and that's by utilizing a variable called read. Just going to print another blank line, and with this particular format, there is no reason to utilize the close like the other open command. And then we're going to come down to our main function here. This just prints out the header for F function, or for our variable F1. We're going to make a call function to actually send the value of F1. Let me delete these lines, get some more code to display. So my open file F1 is a variable of dogs.txt, which gets passed to this function here. When it gets passed to this function, we submitted the value of F1, which was our variable. Now for this particular function, it's going to be referred to as file name. So again, file name is a local variable associated here. So we're going to open this up and assign it to yet another variable called file 1. Print file 1 .read. This is going to display the contents of the file. We'll just have a separate print statement, and again, we don't need to have a close because that's not required when we're utilizing the syntax that way. What we need to do then is do it twice, so we need to then create another informative header message, and this time it's for variable F2, and we'll do another call statement to print out the value of F2. So it comes up here. So behind the scenes, behind the coding, there are two files called dogs.txt and resume.txt. So now we go run the code. Oh, we got an error in the print statement here, 44. Come back to 44, and sure enough, we do have an error. The print contents of the file, error, expected indent. So once again, this ends in a semicolon. None of these lines underneath it are indented, so just indent it by one. Run the code this time, and it opened up the file, displayed the file of what's in dogs.txt here, and ran the second time and displayed the contents of the file of resume.txt down below. Alright, so that is it for this particular program.